Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we'll be checking out the American A-18A, a Tier 7 aircraft that costs 22,000 coins. It's the most recent addition to the US Navy line and surprisingly almost no one is playing it, which is a bit of a shame because it's not a bad aircraft at all, so hopefully this video convinces a couple people to buy and play it. Let's not waste any more time and get into some gameplay, starting with a perfect example why you should never fly into the entire enemy team alone. Fired an A-18A from pretty far away, hoping the enemy wouldn't see it, but I didn't have that luck. It got flared and now I've got 4 enemies in front of me. As expected, I've got multiple launch warnings. I managed to notch both arc missiles last second and I fire an A-18A, hoping it hits. And here I've made a little bit of a mistake by ignoring the high-flying SC-27 in front of me. The A-18A hits the enemy, but at this point I know I'm dead, so I try to squeeze one last kill in. Now let's take a look at its performance in general, which is one of its main advantages. It has the highest turn rate in its tier, and it has a G-limit remover, which can be disabled with the N key. Just be careful not to disable it while you're going Mach 1, as you could rip your wings off. The thrust to weight ratio is also pretty high, allowing you to accelerate decently quickly. You won't be the fastest aircraft in your tier, but you also won't be the slowest. The energy retention isn't that good. You might struggle to maintain your optimal speed, especially if you utilize the G-limit remover. If you get dragged into a dogfight, you want to stick to one circle turns. If you can't kill the enemy in that one turn, try to conserve as much energy as possible and avoid energy intensive maneuvers like going vertical. Moving on to the offensive armament, you get one gun, 4 different missiles and some bombs. The gun is the classic M61A1 20mm Gatling gun, with 578 rounds when maxed. This might sound like a lot, but you don't get much trigger time as you fire almost 100 rounds every second. The placement of the gun is in the center of your nose, so aiming it should be pretty easy. Using the tracer belt can help with that, but if you're already skilled with this gun, you can use the stealth belt. You only get 60 countermeasures, 30 flares and 30 chaff. This isn't too much and conserving them is very important. You can also use the 5k to switch between countermeasure modes to only use the countermeasure type you actually need. One of this plane's stock missiles is none other than the A-18A, an all-aspect infrared hit-seeking missile. Despite the lack of an RCCM, it can ignore flares in the rear aspects if the enemy doesn't cut their afterburner and if the missile was launched from close ranges. That can be said for head-on launches as it's easily flareable in that aspect. It works best against unaware targets, so try to sneak behind an enemy and fire it without him noticing. It also has pretty decent range of around 7 km if fired from above, but these long-range shots are not recommended. There's a high chance the enemy will spot it before it reaches him. You should also avoid very close range shots, as the missile needs some time to warm up its guidance. In such cases, it will simply fly straight past the enemy. The second stock missile is the AIM-7F, a semi-active homing missile. Being a SARC missile, it requires a constant hard lock to guide it towards the enemy. Hard locking an enemy pings his RWR. If they have a brain, they will immediately enter a notch and easily defeat your missile. This can be prevented by avoiding long-range shots, as they give the enemy plenty of time to notch or go behind the rain. Firing it from too close will simply make the missile fly straight past the enemy aircraft. The ideal launch range is from 2.5 to 7 km. An enemy that has enough energy and skill can outmaneuver your missile, so be prepared just in case that happens. Launching at an enemy that's already notching or is close to a notching position is not recommended at all. You can also multiply this missile by flying very low to the ground, but make sure you don't crash into it. And now we can take a look at some gameplay again. I'm still using the stock loadout for those of you who wasted their upgrade points on something else. I noticed multiple enemies in front of me, so I start flying low to the ground to multipath their launch to radar missiles. I managed to down one enemy, but the other one launches my missile. It makes a fatal mistake by turning around. He allows me to fire an A-18A, which is hard to flare and these ranges. After flying around for a bit, I merged with an F-16 that appeared from behind this rock. In a dogfight with him, I should win the one circle turn, but if he drags me into a sustained turn, I'll get absolutely destroyed. I whip an easy shot and then he seems to have disappeared. Luckily, this isn't a poorly staged episode of ghost hunting, as I was able to spot him on my 6. He breaks up from the dogfight and flies towards his team, which wasn't that bad of an idea considering I died to Astral playing the F-14A like a spaceship. Now I'd like to show you an actual dogfight with the same F-16 from the previous clip. Looking at the minimap reveals his location, so I knew exactly where I should expect to find him. We merge and I go vertical to lose some speed and be the first to get his nose around. I missed the shot and now I'm stuck with an F-16 trying to make me lose all of my speed. I missed yet another shot because the F-18A handles a bit weird at these low speeds, which is something I'll unfortunately have to get used to. I launched an A-18A, but there was no chance that would have hit him. He realizes he won't get me off his 6, so he tries to go for the reversal. I spot that a bit too late and he almost manages to reverse me, but I cut my throttle and air brake just in time to destroy his aircraft using psychological warfare. The M9M is an all-aspect infrared heat-seeking missile that can be purchased for 220 upgrade points. Performance-wise, it's almost identical to the A-9L, but the addition of a suspension check-in RCCM makes it much harder to flare. Now the enemy needs to cut their afterburner, turn, and flare. It's still easily flareable in head-ons, but in side and rear aspect shots, if the enemy only flares, but keeps flying straight, the inertial guidance of the missile will guide it directly towards the heat source. It also features a smokeless motor, which makes it harder to spot as it doesn't leave a smoke trail behind it, giving away its location. It might seem a bit expensive to purchase, but it's definitely worth getting. The AIM-7M can be purchased for 150 upgrade points and is very similar to the AIM-7F. There's a couple improvements to its guidance, but generally it can be used in the same way. Now you can finally use the better loadout consisting of AIM-9Ms and AIM-7Ms. You can use a different amount of each missile, but I use this loadout because it gives me the most missiles in general. I launched an AIM-7M at an enemy from a bit too far away, as he was able to simply turn around and make my missile miss. In the meantime, I launched an AIM-9M at an unaware F-15, and the F-15 from before turned around for me and was able to notch my missile. I almost got a gun kill, but my teammate's AIM-9M was faster. Now I was slow and needed to get my energy back. Unfortunately, there was an F-15 not too far away from me. Luckily, he thought I wasn't much of a threat. Another F-15 appears that wanted to kill a guy that his teammate was already attacking, not the enemy that was attacking his teammate. And that's why target prioritization is so important. After regaining my energy, I returned to the enemy spawn. I saw a guy who fired 4 SARC missiles at me, so I just dipped below the terrain. Somehow, the missiles didn't self-destruct and I got jump scared by the wall of AIM-7s. And it seemed like some were even going to do 180 to go after me. I ignored them for a bit to focus on this F-14. Dealing with a slow F-14 isn't that hard, especially if you're in an F-18. I overlooked a couple missiles flying behind me, so I stayed low for a bit more, which I was forced to do after a SARC missile was launched at me. I was easily able to multipath his AIM-7 and flare his AIM-9M. And once again, the wall of AIM-7s makes another appearance. At this point, I didn't know what was going on, and my confusion was demonstrated with this death. Last clip we'll be taking a look at before we move on to the bombs is a bit of a furball. The F-14A that launched an AIM-7F at me got killed before it could reach me. I kept flying low because I thought the Service-to-Air missile that killed my teammate was the missile rapidly approaching my location. After flying over this hill, I got jumped by multiple enemies. Luckily, one of them got killed and I merged with an F-15. He was getting attacked by the same teammate that killed the guy before. I launched an AIM-9M, but most likely it wouldn't have pulled in. I should have let it more, so it had to pull less. Now I was low and there were still 2 enemies above. I'll keep reflaring just in case somebody fired an infrared missile. MiG-29 ended up on my 6, but dogfighting him shouldn't be too much of a problem. I just have to be careful not to die to his guns. We merged and he was much quicker than me, so he flew straight into my guns. You also get access to some bombs, allowing you to play this aircraft as a multi-role fighter. Specifically, you can equip the LDGP Mark 83 and Mark 84 for the 1000 and 2000 pound bombs. If you have enough upgrade points, I recommend you purchase the 2000 pound bomb. The radar present on this aircraft is the AN-APG-65. It's a pretty average radar with an average Doppler filter, detection range and search cone. Nothing too special, but good enough not to have too many problems with it. The RWR is the AN-ALR-45V, and some claim it's subpar for this tier. I partially agree. It's not the best, but it does its job and notifies you of incoming radar missiles. You can check out the wiki to learn more about it, and most importantly, how to use it. Now let's place this aircraft on this tier list. There's no other place to put it other than S tier. It's simply too good to be put anywhere else. The performance is extremely good, the missile selection is excellent, and it can carry bombs. It is true that the RWR and countermeasure count aren't the best, but once you get used to them you should be fine.